Hello and welcome to Talkin' Wrestling with Pondwater Dave Season 2 edition as we are celebrating our 1 year anniversary here on Talkin' Wrestling with Pondwater Dave. And as always, I'm joined by the First Lady of the Arn Anderson Fan Club, Mrs. Amy Vaughn herself, and of course, the man who counted Ric Flair's last match, probably not now, Mr.
I done told you about that, Justin.
Mr. Pondwater Dave. What is going on, guys?
Oh, how about this, guys? It's been a year. Happy birthday, everybody.
Yay! Happy birthday!
Season 2. We're ready to get this thing kicked off. And
Heck yeah.
without further ado, let's bring in our guest. He's a referee with over 40 years experience. He's an author. He's a Hall of Famer. He's the soon to be an actor. He's an actor in I can't talk. Important being able to talk on a talk show, making fun of Justin from the first episode, how bad he was at it, and I'm choking all over the place. He's an actor, and he's fixing to be in the major motion picture that's releasing in December, The Iron Claw. Everybody, welcome to the show, Mr. James Beard.
Yay! Thank you, James. Thanks for coming on with us.
I screwed that one up, James. I'm sorry. Hey.
Oh, you got to unmute yourself, James. We can't hear you yet. Oh, there it is.
Our producer brought us a candle.
James, click unmute. There's on the microphone button there on your screen. We can't hear you yet. If you click that mute button, we should be able to. Yep.
On the microphone.
There we go.
We got you now. There you go.
Okay. I told you I was having trouble with all these buttons.
Well, thank you for coming on tonight. We're excited to have you. Especially, but before we get to wrestling and everything, how about those Texas Rangers?
Hey, man. Tell you what, that was exciting to see after all these years. I've been a baseball fan for a long time, and especially a Texas Ranger fan, and finally came through.
Well, I read your post earlier that you shared that with your father, and
my dad was a big fan. He before he passed away, he had been pretty much blind for about 3 or 4 years and couldn't see the TV or anything, and he'd sit there and listen to all the games, and he never missed a thing. And then we finally took him to Arlington, to the stadium one night, just so he could experience. He couldn't see the field, but he could hear everything and kind of feel the atmosphere, and they treated us really well that night. It was a great experience.
James, your dad, growing up in Texas, I assume, didn't have any teams to root for as a kid, so he was probably really happy when the Rangers and Astros showed up.
Oh yeah. He's a big sports fan anyway. He was a Cowboy fan and Ranger fan. He played baseball and basketball when he was a kid, and it was always kind of ingrained in him and ingrained in me, for the sports and that thing. So I was glad to see that. I wish you could have seen it.
Yeah, well, I felt the same way because my earliest memory of the Texas Rangers when they came to town, my great grandfather, he had a transistor radio, and we'd listen to the games on the radio. I'd sit back in his bedroom with him, and he'd roll his own cigarettes, and he had like a little cigarette roller, the tobacco in the can, and he taught me at 5 years old how to roll cigarettes. So we sit back there and listen to the Rangers and roll cigarettes. So when they won last night, immediately my thoughts went to that I would have loved for him to live long enough to see him make the playoffs.
Yeah.
But, and in the World Series, I was starting to think that it wouldn't happen in my lifetime. So
yeah, it was one of those things I was wondering about too. But they put together a really special run this year, and something to be proud of.
It is.
I know one thing: don't let Bruce Bochy get into the playoffs, because he's winning that son of a bitch. If he's in there.
He is incredible.
Yep.
And to go on a run like that on the road, just refusing to lose on the road.
That's almost hard to believe. You could win 11 games on the road in the playoffs.
I'd be willing to bet that none of us will be alive to see that happen again.
I think it'll ever happen again. I can't imagine.
Well,
I'm just going to sit here and look pretty because I have no idea what y'all are talking about.
Amy lives in Kentucky. They ain't got a baseball team. Well, they got the
Yeah.
Louisville Bats, the Cincinnati Reds
I've seen them
AAA
play
team.
before.
well, other than baseball, James, tell me about your wrestling fandom before. What part of the state did you grow up in, and what were you a fan of?
I grew up about, I live close to my hometown now. I'm about 90 miles east of Dallas, about halfway between Dallas and Shreveport.
Okay.
Tyler.
Yeah.
Grew up there and watched wrestling from the time I was a kid. Back in those days, well, we had was a little black and white television and antenna. You didn't have cable. So sometimes we could see it pretty well and sometimes we couldn't. But we watched it. My folks watched it, and they took me to the Sportatorium a couple of times when I was 8 or 9 years old, and I guess that kind of lit the fire a little bit, and really never really considered getting into business seriously until later on. I was playing music in Dallas and got to know a bunch of the guys, and they started, we talking to them. They found out I had watched and was a fan and kind of looked at it from a different perspective, I guess, and thought I'd be good at it. And they finally kind of talked me into sticking my toe in the water a little bit. And eventually it became one of those things that I just, got so busy I had to make a choice. And I guess I made the right one. I don't know.
So can I ask, so you said you were playing music, like
Yeah.
were you in a band or teaching? What were you doing?
Yeah, I played keyboards and sang. I was usually a front guy. We were actually working for Chardon, which is Charlie Pride's company.
Oh,
We opened for everybody you can think of back in the 70s and 80s, and I was doing okay with music. It's just one of those things that it can be frustrating after a while, political and that kind of thing. And I kind of laugh at myself sometimes. I'm frustrated with music and jumped into the wrestling business.
Well, did you go right into being a referee, or did you start as a wrestler?
Yeah, no, I started as a referee. I didn't really ever. I was a little older, when I started, so I really never considered wrestling. In fact, all those years, I always thought, well, all those guys are much bigger, and then I got to know a few of them, and I found out some of them weren't as big as I thought they were.
Well, I had read that you were trained by Bruiser Brody, so I wondered if there was any wrestling.
Well, Bruiser really is the guy that you kind of pushed me, that made the last push, made me get into it. As far as being trained goes, I really wasn't trained by anybody. And I tell people I was trained by everybody. Basically worked with. There wasn't any formal training. No school or anything like that. You just, in those days, you either could do it, you couldn't, and you learned on the go. I learned mostly by listening. To be honest with you, I think I learned more listening than I ever did in the ring.
what year were you? Did you start?
That was 86.
86. So okay, so right at the height of the Star Wars and that kind of stuff in WCCW.
The height, the real glory years of a world class was like 83, 84, and 85.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I came along, it was hanging on, but it wasn't.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the Freebirds and the Von Erichs had already happened.
No, it was still going on.
Still going on.
Okay.
That degree, yeah.
I got a question, Mr. Beard, about Bruiser. I read a book about him, and I know him to be a lot different person off camera than on screen. Obviously, he was a writer, a sports writer before he was a wrestler, and he kind of an academic type of guy. What was he like? As far as interacting with him, a lot of people say he was kind of harsh, and then there's people that kind of knew the softer side of him.
No, he was a great guy. The only people he was harsh with are people he thought were taking advantage of him in some way. He was a tough business guy when it came to that. But as far as just a person goes, he was a great guy. Not hard to get along with at all. just just a wonderful person that the side of him I knew anyway.
Yeah.
He could be tough if
He
he had
knew
to.
he knew his worth, that's for sure, when it come to promoters, right?
Well, yeah, and the truth is, a lot of promoters would try to take advantage of guys in those days. They still do, to be honest with you, some of them. But Bruiser couldn't afford to allow that because he made his money in Japan. That's where his big money came from. And if you worked in Japan, you know that everything you do over here, they know about over there.
Yeah, if you take if you get beat by Coco Beware, you're going to be screwed going back over there, right?
Oh, yeah. So he had to be tough over here, and he had to make sure that he took care of himself, and he didn't want to tie himself down too much with any one company. So he was jumping from here to there and there to here, and doing that, he had to be careful about how he portrayed himself. And
one thing that really shone through the book and was how much he loved his wife and kids.
Oh man, they were nice. Yeah. Barbara's a dear friend to this day for me, and
she's the sweetest lady.
Yeah.
Oh, just a super lady, and Jeff never really got near the business. He just, he grew up and he lives around the Austin area now, and he's doing his own thing. But yeah, Barbara's just a super gal and a good friend.
Well, I know that when I started going to World Class in late '82, Reunion Arena, 2 out of 3 falls. Kerry and Flair was my first time ever going to the matches. So, but I know that Bruiser Brody was always an attraction for me.
Yeah.
Even when he was a regular, when he was, I guess he was booking, and like I'll hear the Undertaker tell the story about that he was Texas Red and Percy took him to the ring just so he could show him how to get out after Brody got through with him. I was there. And the only reason I remember it is because of Bruiser Brody. So he was always an attraction for me whenever I see him.
He was. That's one of the tried to keep himself in that situation to where when he come in somewhere, it really meant something. He didn't have to stay long. He spent more time in Dallas because in Dallas, he was a babyface. Everywhere else, he was a heel. And in Dallas, he was a friend of the Von Erichs, and that changed everything for him. But most places he'd go in and he knew he'd have a brawl with somebody, Abdullah or whoever, and then he'd leave and be gone for a while and come back. And the next time he came back, it was special. But he was always special in Texas.
You mentioned Japan, and we had Tim Storm on last week, and Tim said you wrote the book for Japan. And I was like, well, I can't wait to ask James about that next week.
I don't know. Yeah, Tim tells everybody that, and it's kind of semi-true. I worked over there for several years, and when I first went over there, in fact, it was my second tour, I think it was. They brought me over, and they started keeping me between tours. I'd do a tour and then stay and work in the training center, and then do another tour and then come home and then go back and do that again. So I'd be over there 6-8 weeks at a time, and the second time I went over there, they took me to the training center and they asked me to write down every wrestling phrase, everything I could think of, every hold, every part of the ring, every move, everything I could think of, and write it down. And what they were doing is they were using that. If they don't have a word for it in Japanese, they just use
English word.
And if they did have, then there was a translation thing there. So they were using they put it together in like a book, and they were using that for training, so the guys could stay.
You kind of wrote their thesaurus.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where Tim gets that. That's one of the I told him that story a long time ago, and he said, "Well, you wrote the book then." I went, "Well,
That's exactly how he said it.
Sounds good anyway."
So you went over to Japan as a referee?
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
That's not normal? Is that normal? That I was going to say.
Well, referees have gone over there to do like tours or special events and that kind of thing. far as I know, I'm the only Gaijin American foreign referee that's ever worked for a Japanese company, and I've done that for 3 different ones. So that was a special part of my career. It actually made my career, to be honest with you.
How did you enjoy your time over there? Did you like the food and the atmosphere and everything?
Loved it, man. I would have never quit if the economy had stayed as good as it should have been. But late 90s, toward the late 90s, the economy over there started getting kind of bad, like it does here sometimes, and things were going downhill. So that's one of those things that kind of ended that I wish it never ended. It was a great experience for me. It made, like I said, it made my career over here too, because it was such a special thing that and in those days you had to be on top of your game to go to Japan. Wrestlers did, and for a referee to go over there and do that, it was really different, and so the people over here were making a big deal out of that. The people I worked with, and it put me in a lot of good situations where I was I guess thought of a little bit differently than some in some ways. It just a fortunate situation for me.
Did the fans over there treat you differently because they didn't have a Japanese referee? They're like, oh, what's up with the American referee?
It was kind of strange. They treated me pretty much like the wrestlers. The first night I was over there, I didn't know what to expect. And I was thinking, I'm going to come over here one time and just, have a good time and enjoy myself and say, I've been to Japan, like that. And that first night over there, we were in Yokohama Arena, and it was like 18,000 people there. And first, I think I'm going to work with all these guys that I came over here with. Well, Kabuki, who was one of the bookers at the time for the Japanese company, came in there and he said, okay, you got this match. And it was 2 Japanese guys, and neither one of them could speak English. And then
you had to go to your thesaurus.
Well, back then they still talk to the referees.
He said they're it's submission only. I said, well, who? I don't know. I don't know if they were testing me or what they were doing, but what the deal was is an older wrestler who was about to retire. He'd been managing some, and this was going to be his last match against a younger guy. And it was really a submission match. And when I got in there, I didn't know who was going to win. I didn't know what was going to happen. And I said, well, I'm just going to work this thing the way I was working in the States, and if it's good, it's good. If it's not, it's not. And I did. And I'm generally pretty, I guess, physically involved sometimes if I have to be. And the match went on, and the younger guy kicked the older guy in the jaw. His jaw's hanging down, like way down here, broken.
Oh, Lord.
And I thought, and he didn't give up. I thought, well, I'm not stopping this thing unless
they would have beat you up if you would have vexed it.
Yeah, I wouldn't have. And finally, the older guy got the younger guy in a rear naked chokehold, and the guy started tapping out, and I called it, and I was walking back to the dressing room, and all these younger fans were up, and they were just having a fit, and wanting to slap hands and all that kind of stuff, and I thought, well, I guess I didn't do anything.
It sounds like it was a test, like they were testing you, and they were like, let's just throw him in there and see if he knows,
That was the idea or not. I never asked Kabuki about that. I should have, but I got back to the back, and all the boys from in our dressing room was like, what in the heck was that? I said, I don't know, man. All I know is it was stiff and tough, and it fired a lot of those guys up, because when they got in the ring, with those Japanese guys, they were ready for a fight, But anyway, I went through that night, and then they had 2 nights in a row in that same building, and the second night, the business manager came in and the dressing room after I finished my second match, and said, Mr. Tanaka, who was the money guy of the company, wanted to see me. And I thought, well, I hope I didn't do anything wrong. I walked in and into the production room, which was like a big TV studio, and he walked up to me and shook my hand and handed me about, it was about $500 in yen. I didn't know how much it was at the time, and he said "Ikiban Resuri," and that's whatever that meant. I said, "Okay, thank you."
Was Hansen in his run at that time over there?
Excuse me?
Stan Hansen, was that when he was in his run over there?
Oh yeah, he was over there. Yeah. And I walked back in the dressing room. Bob Orton was laying on the table, and he said, "I think you got over, kid." I said, "Oh, well, I don't know." And then went to get my money that night, and Kabuki handed me my pay, and he said, "Okay, you come back next month," and I never stopped after that.
Uh-huh.
That's
awesome.
Because I can't think of any other time that I'd seen an American referee over there. So that's incredible.
Yeah, well, there's been some, like I said, there's some that go over and maybe do a tour or do a special event, or something like that for a company. They even world class a couple of times they sent referees over there. Sometimes just to escort the guys.
Yeah.
They're
I was gonna say, I'm sure Tim White was over there all the time with Andre, but he wasn't in the ring or anything.
Right. Yeah. But it was an incredible experience.
Was that all Japan?
Excuse me?
Was that all Japan for Baba?
No, that was SWS.
Okay.
10 years group. They came. A lot of them came from Baba's group. Yeah. He eventually made a deal with Vince, and they started sending guys over there every month, and so I was working. I'd come home, work in Dallas, do TV there, and with our guys, and then go to Japan and work with WWF guys, and it was a pretty cool situation for me. When the company,
like it.
Yeah, when the company finally split, there was some infighting about the deal with WWF because they thought that the WWF style was hurting what they intended the SWS to be, and a lot of the guys didn't like. A lot of the upper echelon Japanese guys didn't like that, and it caused a split in the company. And when they split, Kendo Nagasaki, who is Sakurada, who is the guy that actually brought me over there the first time, took a group of guys and formed his own company with the same backing as SWS, and of course when he left, I went with him because I was loyal to him, and it was just one of those things that turned out really good for me.
Before you went over there, did you ask anyone like Bruiser or someone that's been over there, like, what should I watch for or expect? Like, did you have that conversation with anyone before you went?
Well, I probably talked to a couple of guys that had been over there, but I knew enough to know that the style over there was tight and pretty much a fight, and so I was kind of expecting that. I saw a lot of things I didn't expect, but that kind of ready for that, and really that kind of fit my style anyway, and what we do in Texas. The style in Texas has always been kind of rough, and so I wasn't really intimidated by that at all. And I've always been a referee that if I need to get involved, I'll get involved. I don't want to go in there and take over anything, but if I have to get physical sometimes, I don't have a problem with that. And it just worked out really well for me. It fit my style, and evidently they liked it. So,
did you ever talk to any, or did any of the WWF wrestlers ever talk to you about coming to work for the WWF during that time?
Oh yeah. I never wanted to.
Because of the schedule, or just?
No, I had too good a deal in Japan for one thing. It'd be stupid for me to do that. I'd make more money over there than I could with them, and I don't have to set up anything.
Oh, well, that's true.
Yeah, he don't have to run the ring crew.
They fit my style over there, and I'd have been miserable in WWF. At WWE, they tried to hire me in 2006, and I went up there and worked Raw and SmackDown, and they were doing ECW at the time too, and I just couldn't do it. I wasn't happy the whole week I was there, and not because of the guys, just the style and the
overproduction.
Yeah, yeah, and I'm always involved. I like to be, I believe a referee is a worker, and
Hmm.
and you're part of the match, or you should be part of the match. And when it's all pre-planned it's more like a dance. You're just watching and not really being a part of it. And
Hmm.
unless they happen to make you a part of it, and it just wasn't my cup of tea. And I'm not saying anything bad about them. I
Oh,
got
sure.
friends there still, even, but especially back in those days, I had a bunch of guys I knew and liked a lot, and got to work with. Some of them I even helped get there, and it wasn't that. It just wasn't my thing. I never cared for that. I didn't want to work for WCW either. I
Hmm.
always had a a real desire, if I was going to do it over here, to do it the way I felt it needed to be done, and present a product that was, I guess, a little bit more of an alternative product to what they do,
Hmm.
the way they do things these days. And I'm still working on that. I still try to do that, and I just never had that desire to work for either one of those companies.
One guy that you worked with, I think, in WCCW, J- Jim Cornette. Did you ever think about working at Smoky Mountain for him?
I would have if Jim had called. I'd been there in a second. I
Yeah.
loved. I did work with him a little bit, and when Crockett tried to start the NWA up again in Dallas, we did some things with Smoky Mountain. So I did actually work with him a little bit. Uh, yeah, that would have been right up my alley.
Yeah.
If that had happened, I would have enjoyed working for Jim. That style would have fit me just right.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like that probably would have worked out better for you
Oh,
because he's more old school, like you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. If I'd gone to WWE or F or whichever letter they were using at the time, I would have been just like Jim Cornette. Miserable all the time there.
Yeah, he didn't enjoy the state of Connecticut too much, I
Yeah,
don't.
you,
Exactly.
you hear him talk about it, and you can tell he was just absolutely miserable most of the time.
Yeah.
Are you able to watch the product and enjoy it for the
No,
most part?
not much.
You watch
Uh,
it through the referee eyes, right?
yeah, and I'm not saying there aren't guys out there that I enjoy watching sometimes. There's some great talent out there, great athletes. Some probably they're better athletes now than ever overall. The problem is the philosophy, the psychology is just not there.
Right.
It's just action, and to me, wrestling is about creating emotion. It's about creating a feeling with the fans that they care, not just want to react. And all I see now is the attempt to make reaction out of every move, everything, and it doesn't. It's just kind of an empty thing for me. I don't get anything out of it.
Yeah, if I watch it with my grandkids, I kind of enjoy it through the eyes of a child when I watch it with my grandkids.
Yeah,
But
I can.
but
Yeah,
but I find myself like, oh, what was that? And little things, and I really don't blame the referees per se, because I think they're doing what they're told. But when did we quit counting when they're on the ring apron?
some of
When
the, especially in AEW, they absolutely bury the referees there sometimes.
Absolutely.
It's absolutely ridiculous, and I would. Oh man, I wouldn't work that wouldn't work at
I,
all.
it negates the point of having a referee if all the cheating
Yeah,
can be done right in front of them, why are they there?
right. Like I said, in my view, is a referee is a worker. He just has a different role, and and his role is really to make the match better, or in some way enhance the match some way, and make it more believable. And there's no way, not even an attempt to do that in some cases these days, and that bugs me a lot.
Also, I think with some referees in AEW seem to want the attention on them instead of on the wrestlers in the ring, and that's
Well, yeah, and that's part of it too. I mean, uh, sometimes a referee does have to step up and draw the attention to himself, but that's only when the time is right to do that. When if there's a spot or a situation that the referee needs to step up and be the focal point for a minute or two or whatever it is, then there's a place for that. but not just to showboat, not just to say, hey, me, look, shine the
Yeah.
light
Right. Mr. Beard, well, I was going to say, do you have any like favorite matches that you've refereed, or like matches that you did and you're like, okay, that's the last time I do a Texas death match, or that's the last time I do a hardcore match or whatever? Do you have favorites, and maybe ones that are maybe not as favored in your mind when it comes
on.
to
Yeah,
wrestling matches?
I get asked a lot of times about, what was your favorite match and that kind of thing. And God, man, I don't even know how many thousands of matches I've worked. I have no idea. I'm sure Dave can't tell you how many he's been in. Yeah, it's
Nah,
just,
I don't have a clue.
yeah, and a lot of them, especially in the days when psychology was really the thing. A lot of those matches I came out of thinking, man, that's the greatest feeling in the world, because we took the fans and led them exactly where we wanted to lead them, and made them feel exactly what we wanted them to feel. And sometimes those matches weren't main events. Sometimes they were just matches. Sometimes it was spot shows.
They stole the show.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've told them before that it's a feeling when it happens, when you're part of something like that the drive home's easy because you're so wired up, you're not going to fall asleep behind
It's
the wheel.
unbelievable. It's an unbelievable feeling, and I got that feeling with music sometimes, and I get it with wrestling when that happens, and it's a real high. It really is. Yeah, I mean, there's matches that I can remember that when people ask me that, I can think of this match and that match that really stand out. I think about my match with, Steve Anthony. I mean, Steve Anthony's worked there.
I felt Steve Anthony's wrath one time because, and he actually, I found myself watching him instead of working with him because he's so good.
Yeah, that could happen. A match that stands out for me was a match with Steve Anthony and AJ Styles. One of the best matches I've ever worked. And AJ didn't know Steve at the time. He was in fact, at the time, he was the New Japan champion. And I told AJ, I said, he was asking me about Steve, and I said, about 2 minutes into this match, you're going to feel really comfortable. This is going to really be nice. And about 2 minutes in the match, AJ looked at me and he said, "You got it." And we went about 25 or 30 minutes, and it was so much fun.
Wasn't that up in Arkansas?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember.
Sure was. Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you see it, Dave?
I don't know. I wanted to so bad.
Oh, okay.
I know what show it was.
Like that, you remember, and they're special, but I can't always say that this match was the greatest match I ever referee. That hard to determine. As far as matches I don't want to do, I'm not crazy about gimmick matches, but sometimes they have a place. Sometimes they can even be fun if they're done right and for the right reason. If they're just done, a lot of times they don't mean anything. But I don't have a problem doing any kind of match if it's for the right reason. I'm not a big fan of the real hardcore stuff where they use a lot of chairs and whatever, and if it's a blow off match and there's a reason for them to do something like that one time, then I can get into that. But for like an everyday thing, it doesn't turn me on at all.
Since we're talking about gimmick matches, Pondwater Dave pontificates a lot about how he does not appreciate climbing out over the cage in a cage match.
Doesn't make sense.
Right. That's okay. I was wanting your opinion on that.
Doesn't make any sense. I mean, why would you have a cage match when the idea is to climb out?
Right.
The cage match was established for a blow off match where you got two guys and you want to make sure nobody gets in and nobody gets out, and somebody has to win.
Yeah.
Now, one of the greatest angles in Texas started with a cage match where the idea was to get out of the cage, but it wasn't climbing over and getting out of the door.
Yeah. I mean, to me, if Hulk Hogan, the babyface, is climbing out, it just looks like he's running.
Yeah, it makes no sense whatsoever.
The first time I saw that, I was thinking, Well, I could be the champion if it was a cage match because my little monkey ass can climb a cage quicker than anybody. They wouldn't even know. And if I'm gonna be champion, I'll just fall to the floor.
Got a great
Yeah,
yeah.
Rey Mysterio should wrestle every championship match in the cage. He'll just
Yeah.
zip right up out of there.
Yeah, nobody can.
Oh.
Yeah, you're right.
I
Yeah.
don't like triple threat matches, and I'm gonna tell you why.
Well, I'm with you on that too, Dave.
There's no rules.
No,
And I'm just standing there, and I feel useless that I've just got to stand there and watch this man choking him on the ropes, and I can't do anything. And I'm like, and it's just I feel useless in that match because all I'm there for is to count the three.
turn into a deal where they start out with the three of them, and one of them takes a bump out, and then you got two guys working. The other guy takes a bump out, and you got two guys working. And it makes no sense whatsoever. And I really hate them when you're talking about doing them for like a singles title or something like that. It just if it's a triple threat with tag teams, the same thing.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Remember WCW back in the day? They had a world title match that was a tag team match. And
Yes.
whoever pinned won the world title. And I'm like, what the hell is
Yeah. Yeah. And a lot of times those things are done as an excuse to not have to put somebody over or something.
Yeah, fade the heat.
And that, to me, that's just, it's not wrestling. It's not the way it's supposed to be.
Have you done anything else behind the scenes? Like, have you always been in the ring? Have
No.
they ever like pulled you in the back and
I'm seldom in the ring nowadays. I come up and work with Dave sometimes with Josh and get in the ring and once in a while in some situations I'll get in there, but I've been working behind the scenes for the most part the last few years, several years really. That started in Japan also. When the company split over there and Sakurada took his group, he gave me a lot of leeway to book, not only book talent, but to book the matches and book the finishes. And I just started doing that actually in SWS some. And that carried over to here, to working at the Sportatorium. I was involved in a lot of the booking there, and not necessarily always the booker, but involved in it. And giving finishes and that sort of thing. And I started doing that way back in those days. And that's something that actually that was my goal to begin with when I got in the business. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to be on the creative side of things. And that's what I really enjoy. These days I write the TV format and finishes and books for the most part, a group called TSW in Dallas. And Texas Style Wrestling is the name of it, and that's really what I enjoy doing more than anything now. I still enjoy being in the ring once in a while, but it's a lot less now than it used to be.
Well, and you said you're a creative person, obviously with having the musical background. I'm sure that's a great release, of like you said, of creating. So that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that really kind of tied into my background in music. When coming up with writing songs and also writing stories, and coming up with angles and finishes, and it's something that's challenging and something I enjoy doing.
Yeah. Do you have any songs that we might know that you wrote?
I don't know if you know any of them or not. That I had a couple of things that got released, but nothing big.
Were your parents musical, or how did you kind of get in? No,
not really.
Were you just influenced by who was your musical influences growing up?
My grandparents were, especially one of my grandfathers was very musical, but kind of skipped a generation a little bit, I guess. But my folks enjoyed music, but they didn't really do anything like that. I can remember when I was a kid, just a little kid, and I figured out I could sing, and I could sing parts, just naturally, and it was just, I don't know, just one of the things you're born with, I guess, And
what bands and who was your kind of musical influence? Who did you really like as a kid?
Early on, Elvis and a lot of the early '60s stuff.
Give me some Buddy Holly. I'm a Buddy Holly mark.
Buddy, all those things.
Lubbock's own.
Yeah,
Darren Staley wants to know if you he'd be curious that if you ever played with Beaumont musicians is like Mark Chestnut or Jesse Dayton.
Never worked with either one of those. I opened for a lot of guys, but I never worked with either one of those guys.
Did you open for more country acts or was it
Oh,
rock?
yeah, later on, but nearly all. We started. I would, like I said, I was a '60s guy, so we started playing rock and roll early on, and that was the thing. But if you're going to make a living in Texas, you better.
If you're going to play in Texas, you better have a fiddle in the band, Dave.
That's right.
We didn't have a fiddle, but we had to learn how to play country music.
I bet so.
And we kind of had our own style of country. It's kind of funny. We would learn, like dance music and playing in clubs and stuff. They wanted to hear the stuff that was on the radio, so you'd learn them as close to what they did on the record sounded like as you could. And
I want to hear Mr. Beard sing some Bee Gees. Can we do that at the end of this?
I'll tell you what, I've got some stuff recorded that I'll get to Dave, and you can.
Yay!
So would you consider your band a rock band or kind of just
originally?
Yeah.
Then like I said, we sort of morphed into doing country, and eventually that was all I did. And I always had a real love for country and traditional country, and the stuff that was out in the 80s and 90s and that kind of thing. But I played really even after I got into the wrestling business. I played music for a little while, and I still do a little bit every once in a while. So,
I like that you were a lead singer that played the keyboard. You was like the dude from Mario Speedwagon.
He is the dude from Mario.
He is.
But you haven't lived until you've heard his gangster rap.
Yeah.
I can't wait.
Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
And I think too, I mean, I know you've mentioned all these different places that you've gotten to be a referee. You're in a Hall of Fame. Is that not correct?
3 or 4 of them, yeah.
3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, last year he went in with in the Tragus Thez Hall of Fame.
Yeah, look at that. What a group.
The first Hall of Fame was Texas and Southern Hall of Fame, and then in 2016 I was the first referee to get the award at Cauliflower Alley, and
oh wow.
Okay.
Then
that's pretty awesome to be the first referee at Cauliflower. I mean, you would think that they'd already had some,
Yeah. In fact, John Layfield, JBL, came in and he was my presenter for that.
Oh, nice.
Did you shave for it? You didn't shave for it, did you?
He looks like he could do stuff.
That would
be the head man for NBC News, right?
No,
that was actually an accident. I was trimming it up a little bit, and it got too close. And I said, "Well,
messed it up.
Cut it all off."
Did they
I do that quite often.
We've all done that except for Amy, I think.
No, I have not done that. When I shave my face, I get it all. I promise.
My wife goes, "Oh, you shaved for me?" I said, "Yes, I did."
That was all for you.
I did not shave my legs, but
for this, yeah.
That's awesome. That's such a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
Again, to be recognized by such a body of Cauliflower Alley, plus the what was the Luthez?
Yeah,
Luthez Tragos, and then he's in the Southern Wrestling
Yes.
He's in the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame, the same one I'm in.
And I'm writing a letter this week to the Keyboard Hall of Fame to get him into that too.
No kidding.
I got involved with the Thez Hall of Fame back several years ago, and Gerald Briscoe really kind of got me involved in that. Troy Peterson kind of runs things there, and I do my best to help them a little bit because that's a special group right there, man.
Yes.
Living in Texas and him being from Oklahoma, have you had a long relationship with Jerry, or?
Yeah, well, it's kind of funny. I knew Jack before I ever knew Jerry, but
okay.
I've gotten to know Jerry over the last several years, and there's not anybody I respect more than Gerald Briscoe. He's just incredible, and he's even if he is from Oklahoma, my buddy JBL and him, they have their podcast, and they give each other hell over that all the time.
Oh yeah.
I kind of sit back and enjoy the banner.
What I love about Jerry is because he's not a real big dude. He doesn't seem to be. I've never
No.
met him in person. But the Vince trusted Jerry to go to Sean and teach Sean how to fight the night before the screw job.
Jerry couldn't help that situation very much.
Yeah.
Conrad had me assigned to.
Vince had seen Sean get beat up in the bar a couple years ago. He's like, I better get Jerry on this right now.
At the first Starcast, I was assigned to Briscoe and Patterson, and they were screwing with me because they were doing the roast, and they said, well, I left my notes upstairs, and they'd send me up to the room, and the notes weren't up in the room. I mean, after about 3 trips up there, I knew they were screwing with me. Patterson and Briscoe. What are you gonna do?
That was all. I'm sure that was all Gerald too.
Yeah, it'd be brutal those two.
Yeah, wow. Patterson be like, I don't know where my notes are. Pond water, where I get them.
Yeah. And I'm assuming you've been friends with John Layfield since he was Justin Hawk Bradshaw when he came to the Sportatorium.
Yeah, I actually literally opened the door for John in the business. I was in the Sportatorium booking office one afternoon, and Skandar Akbar and I were sitting there going over the TV for the night, and we had a hole in the main event. It was Rod Price was our champion at the time, and the main event when his opponent wasn't going to make it, and heard a knock on the door, and I went and opened the door to the Sportatorium, and there was John, and he introduced himself and said he was looking for a job, and we brought him in and started talking to him a little bit, and we put him in the main event that night without even seeing him wrestle.
That doesn't even look like him. Look at him. He's so young.
I'm looking at James and how jacked Mr. Beard is. Vince would have never let you be a referee. He's too big.
He said he likes to get involved. He has to be able to throw hands as needed.
Yeah. That picture they're showing there was actually taken in Germany.
How was it?
Yeah. Yeah, I was over there working for Otto Wands at the time, and John was over there at the same time. But yeah, he came in that night, and the idea was if he wasn't very good, then I'd just tell Rod to pin him, and if he was good enough, I'd just have the match go all the way through. And I could tell, after we were in there 3 or 4 minutes, I said this is going to be okay. So we went all the way through with him that night, and of course from that point on, John and I were like best friends, and we still are. I talk to him regularly, just yesterday, as a matter of fact.
James and John.
It makes sense that you guys would be friends because John, I've never met him obviously, but he comes across as an very old school person.
Very much.
Yeah, I got to hang out with him for a little bit in New Orleans with Bruce and Conrad at the WWE hotel, and I don't remember a whole lot about it other than I didn't quit laughing the whole night though.
Oh, he's a great guy. You hear stories about people and that kind of thing, and some of them are true and some of them aren't. But John is an incredible person, and since he's retired, he's done a lot of good works for a lot of underprivileged kids and that kind of thing. I'm really proud of him, and proud of everything he accomplished in wrestling. I've been pretty fortunate to pick the right friends. Guys like John and Tim Storm and Rod Price, a good friend, and all good people.
You said Dave was your friend though too, right?
Well, you can't win them all.
Watch it now. I don't need this abuse. I can kick y'all out of here.
The abuse you have to take, right?
Hey, speaking of Tim Storm, you got to referee the match that he became NWA World Heavyweight Champion, didn't you?
I did. In fact, I was actually running the NWA at the time. I was the title was Director of Operations, and we had Tim and Jack Stain had several matches. Tim had been the North American champion, and they had some brutal, some absolutely, you talk about slobber knockers. I mean, it would hurt you just to be in the ring with them. and it was time to make a change. And Jax had some things he was going to go on and do, and it was just a logical choice to put Tim out there, and it was a real proud moment for me to be able to be in the ring with him when he won that title, because I know what it meant to him. I know what it still means to him, and
he's very proud of it, and he was proud of it at the time because.
Oh yeah. Tim and I rode thousands and thousands of miles together, and he's just an incredible individual, and one of the best friends I've ever had in or out of the ring, and I'm really proud of everything he's been able to accomplish as well. He still aches to be in the ring, and he still gets in there some, but I'm just glad he's got a place to go and still be a part of things.
I like it when he's around because I'm not the oldest guy in the locker room.
Well, not by far. Yeah, no, yeah. You know what? Nowhere
when
close.
He was on with us last week, my favorite thing, because him and I are both high school teachers, and my favorite thing he said was, "I work heel as a teacher."
yeah.
I'm pretty sure
intimidates the hell out of him.
I bet. That's why I asked him. I'm pretty sure I saw that he was going to be in BIW in I think
January. As long as there's not an NWA conflict, he'll be there.
Yeah.
Right. So you're right. He's
I think
in that ring.
Yeah,
he's from Arkansas, so he comes out and he does the whole thing, and
Fountain
the
Hill.
calling of the hogs, that thing that Arkansas does, and he gets the whole crowd into it. It's one of their things. It's kind of like Roll Tide.
Ain't that how you call the hogs?
It's kind of like Roll Tide, Pig Suey. It's kind of like Roll Tide, but we just say Roll Tide and it's over. It's a whole thing.
I've never hung out in Arkansas, but I've called a pig or two in my day. All right.
James, tell us about this. Tell us about Iron Claw. Tell us about the Iron Claw movie. And
wow!
How did you get into that?
Well, we're talking about Tim. He actually part of that too. I was on the road going somewhere in Louisiana, one of them trips by myself, which I hate, but that's some things you have to do. And Tim gave me a call, and he said he had talked to Luke Hawks, and Luke had been involved in the casting of several movies and TV shows and that kind of thing, and he had some connections with this one, and Luke had asked him if I might be interested in being a part of it, and I really didn't know that much about it at the time, but I told Tim, I said, well, tell him to call. I mean, I'm definitely interested. I don't know, what I have to do. And so Luke ended up calling me, and we talked, and he set everything up. And the next thing I know, I'm getting stuff from A24, which is a production company. And I went through all that process of getting vetted and making sure I wasn't a serial killer and all that kind of stuff, and got everything cleared, and they gave me a date to come in, and I worked there most of last November and a little bit into December, and just doing wrestling scenes, helping with kind of advising and giving the guys an idea of because I've been in the ring with all these guys, so I was they kind of leaned on me a little bit to tell them how this guy would act and how this guy would react and move and do these things, and it was a fun experience. Zac Efron was great. I worked with him a lot, trying to get some of the things down that Kevin would do, and all the actors were really fun to work with, but and Zac in particular, he was a great guy.
Did you have anything to do with their detail on the visuals? Like, did they ask you how was the ring, like right here? Like, how was the?
No, they did that.
They did. Okay.
The director, Sean Durkin, also wrote the script, and he did a lot of research. And
gotcha.
Let me tell you, I walked into the set the first day, and I almost broke down and cried. It was like
put you back in time.
Back into the sportatorium.
Yeah.
And it's smaller, obviously, not as big, but the look, all the colors, all the benches, the way they had it laid out, it was like going back home. And
I was listening to one of Conrad Thompson's podcasts this week, and they talked about and I heard Conrad say just how cool it was to see the sportatorium like in the trailer and how it just looked. And Dave, you went there plenty
Oh,
of
I
times.
got chills.
How it
I
looked,
got
just
chills.
right on. Yeah,
They showed the front of the sportatorium lit up, and then they showed
Yeah.
the inside with the Von Erichs going and getting into the ring. And I'm getting chills talking about it now because I spent
Yeah.
many a Friday night at the sportatorium.
Those exterior shots of the sportatorium were the real sportatorium. That was
Yeah.
taken years
Okay.
ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the of course the interior was all recreated and in Baton Rouge in a building they had there, and it was just, I mean, it was, you can see the ring looks the same. It was incredible, absolutely incredible experience.
So are you in the movie
Yes.
also?
That's him
So
in the
you are
ring.
also.
I was gonna say that's him
Well,
because
he
that
he
sure as hell ain't David Manning. He'd be underneath the top rope.
well, yeah,
But
that's true. Well, he was just saying that, the actors really, used him for like the mannerisms or whatever, that kind of thing. So I thought maybe he was just more of a consultant. So, um, okay.
No, I was actually did the scenes. In fact, that scene you're showing there, that was one of them.
So you play yourself, basically. Is that
Yeah,
correct? Kind of?
IMDb has him as sportatorium referee number 2, but
yeah, kind
Oh,
of. I kind of looked at it like I was just representing all the referees from the sportatorium, and the scenes that I did. And
was it very much different than actually wrestling? Because I mean,
no,
obviously it's a gimmick, so this is the same thing, right?
that's the thing about this movie that I think you'll really enjoy, is that we did the wrestling scenes just like real spots. Now, I mean, you don't see full matches, but the spots we did, we were very meticulous. Chavo Guerrero was the wrestling coordinator, and he put everything together. But we did those spots just like you would do them in a real match, and we tried to make them look as much like a real match as possible. And I think we came off doing that, to be honest.
Did you and Chavo kind of train them together as far as taking a flat back and all that?
Chavo did a lot of the pre-training with the guys before they ever got in there, before we started shooting. As far as learning moves and wrestling, the wrestling holds and whatever they use there. But Chavo did most of that. I was just mostly like, okay, like Zach, I said, no, Kevin would move like this, or he would do like this, or that kind of,
He was putting the finishing touches on
well,
it.
yeah, maybe a little bit. There was that scene, right? There was a scene that we did right after this one that you're seeing there, where the Von Erich, maybe the same scene, I can't remember now. The Von Erichs ended up in the ring, and I think what happened was they hit the ring and did a couple of spots, and the Freebirds powdered, and Von Erichs were in the ring, and when we first shot it, Zach was kind of back a little bit, and like kind of waiting on him. I said, Kevin wouldn't do that. He'd be going through me trying to get to him, being aggressive.
Yeah.
And so those kinds of things, just little things like that I knew that's how these guys would react,
Right.
because I'd have to physically restrain them sometimes just to keep it from turning into a brawl.
Well, you got to, especially in Texas, when you were talking earlier about how Texas is like Japan, it's because you have to make it real in Texas. If you go in there and lay light shit in, those cowboys ain't gonna buy it. Just, you know what I mean?
Let me tell you, if you got in the ring, and the guys who worked with them can tell you this, especially Kevin. If you got in there and if you didn't fight, he'd eat you up. And if they started laying light stuff in, then you were going to be in bad shape before it's all over with. And Kevin was just, he wasn't going to back off. And a lot of guys didn't like that. Some guys didn't, but some guys loved it because you can't see through it.
You couldn't poke holes in it back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the personality differences between Kevin, David, and Carrie?
David was very. He was a businessman about wrestling. He would have been, they were gearing him up to be the world champion, and and he would have probably been a long-term world champion had he gotten to that point.
Him and Flair could have had a decade's worth of
Oh,
matches.
that could have been a long-term thing, and the wrestling business, especially in Dallas, would have been very different if that happened, because World Class would have never pulled out of the NWA, and a lot of things could have been different. But David was a little more on the business side of things, and had that kind of personality. Kevin wasn't a guy who talked a lot. He was kind of quiet. He was very intense in the ring. I got to know him a lot better later on when we rode together, just the two of us, and some of the things I found out, kind of surprised me during those times. But he was a kind of a quietish, more of a
He
quiet.
kind of seems out of the three, and I didn't know David. I wasn't around when he died a year before I was born. But Kevin seems like he was kind of the level-headed one, maybe, or no?
That would probably be David.
Yeah.
Akbar told me that if David would have lived, they'd all still be working.
It's probably that things would have been different, very different. Yeah, and the boys would have been different, because when David died, Kerry and Kevin kind of lost their way a little bit, and it's understandable, because you lose your brother that way, and especially one that you're counting on that way. And
he was the leader, yeah.
He was. He was kind of the leader of the bunch, even though he wasn't the oldest. Kevin was the oldest.
When you say he was the businessman, that makes me think that he kind of was wrangling Kevin and Kerry in those years, and then once he was gone,
to some degree, they really didn't need to be wrangled that much back in those days, because they had a different mindset than later on after David died, because that really changed everything.
Do you think that the trailer's a little bit hard on Fritz?
Yeah, the one part of it, for sure.
Yeah.
That was the one thing that bothered me a little bit. I say bothered me. I mean, you can nitpick anything, and I'm sure people are going to nitpick the crap out of this movie, because so many people are so passionately tied to it in some way. Yeah. But the part where he's talked about ranking the boys, that I don't think that ever would have happened with Fritz. I don't think he would ever.
Or if he did, it might have been a dinner time joke, like David's number one tonight, and then Kerry's number. I mean, it might have been a joke, but
privately in Fritz's own mind, he may have had a little bit of a pecking order. But honestly, if he had, I would suspect David would have been first.
Yeah.
Because he was the one that they were really preparing to be the bell cow. And
I think a lot of people don't understand is, and you'll understand, in that generation, our fathers had strong work ethics.
Yeah.
For my dad, we had our grocery store, and we took care of the store first and foremost. We were sick, we worked. It wasn't that my dad. I wasn't just a worker for my dad. I mean, my dad loved me, and I think that Fritz loved his sons, but he also, I mean, it was the family business, and it was a sense of a work ethic more than not caring.
There's no question that Fritz loved his boys. I mean, that part of it is.
But the trailer would make you think that he's going to disown them if they don't show up to work.
Yeah, well, if anything, Fritz probably, if he had a fault, it probably was that he didn't maybe jump on some issues that were there that and as soon as he should have.
Yeah,
and just faced up to them. Right. If anything, probably was. Like a lot of parents do sometimes, you don't want to believe that your kid is making these mistakes or doing something that they shouldn't be doing and that kind of thing. So,
or it's easier to just put it off.
Yeah, you want to defend them. Yeah. And or not believe it, one or the other.
That's what I mean. It's easier just to put it away and act like it's not there.
Yeah. And if Fritz had a fault with the boys, I think that would probably be the one that I would bring up more than anything else. I don't have any doubt in my mind that he loved them. The last time I saw Fritz, I was riding with Kevin, and we stopped at the old place out in Lake Dallas where Fritz was living at the time, and he and Doris had already split up, and he was there by himself, and we knew he wasn't well, and so we were coming down from Oklahoma or something, and Kevin said, "You mind going by the place?" And I said, "No, not at all." we went in there, and when we pulled up there, I said, "Well, Kev, you know," he said, "Come on." I said, "No, I'll wait here. I know you want to see your dad and talk to him, you know." So I'll just wait in the car. Well, I wasn't there very long, and he came out, and he said, "No, come in. I want you to come in and say hi." And I did, and you could tell that there was a lot of love there, just from the way they interacted, you know, and the way Fritz was acting, and it's kind of bittersweet a little bit. It's kind of sad to see him like that, because he'd always been this big, strong guy who was always up in front of everything and then on top of everything, and there he was, kind of on a downslide a little bit, and it was kind of sad in a way. But there's no doubt that Fritz's love for the boys, that, you know, it was there. He didn't, not that he didn't make mistakes with them, but he loved them.
I don't know that
This-
anyone could avoid that downslide, though. When you've had multiple kids commit suicide and now your wife left you,
Yeah.
do you think that the breakup of him and his wife was from the stress of the kids?
Oh, I
Kelly?
don't have any doubt about that. Yeah.
Because you didn't
A lot
see
of
a problem with
a lot
them
of people
before
don't
that.
make it losing one. I mean,
Right.
it'll tear up a marriage just losing one. I mean, they lost all.
But before the kids died, James, you thought their marriage was fine, good, all that.
As far as I know, I mean,
Yeah.
Doris didn't really come around to the business that much, so she wasn't really a part of it. But
Yeah.
I mean, you can imagine, you got all those sons, and only one of them left, you know, and I mean, that puts a lot of strain on any relationship, I would think.
Was Fritz good to work for, as from your point of view?
When I was around him, I had no problem whatsoever.
Yeah.
You know, and guys, you know, when he turned over the booking, like to Gary Hart or somebody like that, he didn't interfere in that.
Yeah.
I mean, he could have the last word or whatever, but he wasn't a guy that looked over everybody's shoulder and demanded this and demanded that. He understood that you had to have the freedom to create and do what you right without that interference, and he wasn't that kind of owner.
Back then, I think the way with territories was you'd let a guy book for like 6 months, and then it's like, okay, it's time to book differently, and you just bring in a new booker, right?
Yeah, and sometimes the booker himself would just say, you know, it's time for me to go. I mean, Gary did that a couple of times with World Class, you know. So
Gary Hart doesn't get the credit that's due to him. I mean, he kind of, I don't know why that. I mean, everybody. I mean, he was brilliant behind the scenes, but I mean, as a manager, everybody immediately goes Cornette and Bobby Heenan and J.J. Dillon. But man, Gary Hart was
incredible.
Gary Hart was
incredible. He was incredible. He was very, very different. You know, I always felt like I was really blessed working at the Sportatorium, because I had two managers for the most part. I mean, I worked with other guys too, but, you know, Percy and all those, but two guys that were there a long time, and Gary Hart and Skandar Akbar, who were just totally different, you know, and the working with them was totally different. Gary was much more psychological, much.
Uh-oh.
I think he's getting a call.
I think so
It
too.
might be Gary Hart right now.
But you know what? On that point, just real quick, Dave, don't you think it has to be because the people that you named, or, you know, like,
there
he is.
there he's back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Anyway, Gary was more psychological, more of a, like, kind of like working with a football coach or a basketball coach, where they're, you know, they'll look at you and they say, hey, you know, catch this, or look at this, you know, this guy's doing this, and that kind of thing. And Akbar was much more involved. I mean, he was more physical, and it was just a real chess match working with both of those guys, you know, and a lot of fun, really. Just different.
Everybody I've ever heard talk about Skandar Akbar just talks about how great of a guy he was.
Oh, incredible! One of my best friends. I loved it. I loved Dak. We were very close. I rode thousands of miles with Akbar and learned a lot from him, and he really protected me a lot. You know, when I was going to Japan all the time, I'd be gone, like I said, 6 or 8 weeks at a time. I'd come back. I never lost my spot and he'd always have bookings for me when I come in, and I attribute all that to Akbar. He looked out for me for all those years, and we were close personally too. So it was
And we just lost him here recently.
It's been 10 years.
Has it? I thought it
Yeah.
was.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess it wasn't that recent.
yeah.
Well, I,
Getting old.
I,
Hey,
I
the
want to
older, the
know.
older you get, 10 years sounds like recent. Yeah.
The first time I got to work with him was on a show that the promoter ran out, and Akbar was the only one that got paid because he got paid up front before he ever got there. But just sitting in the locker room with him and hearing him talk and just tell stories all night long was, I mean, you couldn't get real mad. I mean, it was what it was, but
Mhm.
I mean, it was a horrible ring. They had a lot of talent there, and they all got screwed, and everybody was mad. But at least, if I took anything away from it, is I got to sit next to Akbar and just listen to
Yeah. You got paid
mouth
one
shut
way.
and ears open, and you can't beat that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
He came
So-
back through the crowd. He went out and cut a promo to start the show, and he came back in. He goes, "Well, boys, if the heat gets out of control, I think we can take them."
Well, Mr. Beard, are you planning on walking any red carpets for this film? Are you going to get to go to a movie premiere?
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Oh, where?
Hell
Where are you
yeah.
gonna go?
Yeah, it's in Dallas at the Texas Theater on next Wednesday night. The world, all the stars will be there. It's an invite type thing, and
Yes.
Texas
Don't-
Theater in Oak
Don't
Cliff.
shave.
Oh,
Do
Yes.
not
they're
shave.
doing like
Wow.
a private opening for
yes.
yeah. I
Yeah,
got
and then there's a reception afterwards at the Longhorn Ballroom. So it's going to be a fun night. I'm looking forward to it.
Is
gonna
it
be a whole
invitation only?
Texas
Yes.
Yes, it's what
Is
he
it
said.
invitation only? Is it open to the public?
Yeah. It was,
No.
it
You're
was
not
all
invited, Dave.
Yeah.
Dave wants to know, do you have a
Oh, Dave
plus
would call
one,
in sick next week.
Mr. Beard? And like I told him, don't shave. Don't show up like we don't know who you are.
I don't know if y'all know this about the Texas Theater. That's where they caught Oswald.
Yeah.
He was in that. That's the movie theater that they caught him in.
Yeah, they've remodeled it and they use it for a lot of concerts and things now too. It's supposedly real nice now. I'm looking forward to it. They told us when we were working on the movie that there would be a premiere somewhere. At the time they were thinking New York or Los Angeles, and they told us then that we would be invited. And if you're on the credits, you'll get invited. I was hoping that they would do something in Dallas, and sure enough, they decided to do the whole shebang there.
I think
That
that's
just
cool
makes
that they
more
did it in
sense.
Dallas.
Yeah.
That's where it should be.
Kevin and his family will be there. All the stars, all the guys that worked in the movie will be there. So it'll be fun, and I'm sure they have invited a bunch of higher ups around the Dallas area, whoever. So.
Well, that's wonderful.
Did you know, Mr. Beard, that it is our birthday? Our show
I
has been on
I
for
heard that. Yes, this is the number 1 year, huh? Ikiban year.
Yes.
Yes.
Ikeban.
Yeah. Yeah. So happy
Yeah, as soon as it's over,
anniversary.
I'm gonna tell y'all how much y'all enjoyed y'all's cake.
Oh, thank you. I was going to say, not to put you on the spot, but do you want to sing us happy birthday?
Oh,
Oh my gosh.
We need the keyboard.
Yeah.
If I don't mean to put you on the spot. Maybe you could record it. Maybe that'd be
she
something.
100% meant to put you on the spot, James.
I think so.
James, back to wrestling a little bit off the movie. It just kind of popped in my head. Abdullah down there in the 80s. How was that as an experience?
Well, yes, it's like you can imagine. With Abdullah and Brody, those guys, you just chase them around and hope you can stay out of the way as much as possible. And that's pretty much the way it was.
Abdullah's such a weird person too, because everyone was scared to death of him, but he's got a little high voice like this. And,
you're right. Yeah.
I got a picture with him in 2005, and I was intimidated.
Yeah. He had that look and mannerisms and everything else. He was a special guy to bring in every once in a while and create a little havoc and give somebody for Bruce to chase around and that kind of thing. And he definitely made his mark over here.
I would assume that when he went out to the local Ponderosa, he cleared out the buffet. Kids probably scared
Yeah,
of him out there.
I don't recall ever going out to eat with him or anything, but
Yeah,
yeah, I'm sure he could hold his own there. I think he owned the restaurants in
yeah, he
Georgia.
did. You're right.
He did in Georgia.
No, I was just meaning like probably in Texas back then, people would be scared of him. Like if he went out to eat somewhere or something
Yeah,
like that, you know?
I'm sure he got left alone.
Yeah.
Well, James, we really appreciate your time tonight. We can't thank you enough for spending our birthday with us. I've enjoyed hearing all these stories that I had no clue about you. You've had quite a run in wrestling, and
We
Yeah,
gotta
I'm
have
always
we gotta have a
always
part
honored
two.
whenever I can be on the same show with you.
Look
Yeah,
at that.
it's the honor and the pleasure is mine, Dave. Always.
And I was trying to watch you in Fountain Hill, and everybody had every spot that they could look through the curtain, and I'm just standing back behind them, and
It was
I
sold
can't. I
out
mean,
at the
I'm
curtain.
not telling Angel Camacho to move.
Yeah, that picture you just showed, that was taken at Rivera's over in Japan. That was a
Oh,
yeah, that was that picture is I went back over there. It's been about 4 years now since I've been there, and when I took. In fact, Tim was with me, and took him to Rivera's for the first time, and the owner's son was there, and he of course he knew who we were, and he came over to the table, gave Tim a jacket, and Matt Riviera he got a jacket, I think, and Rob Conway was with us, and Rob and I had been there a lot of times, so it wasn't a big, the jacket thing wasn't a big deal for us, but we were sitting there, and he looked at me and pointed, he said, "Come with me," and he walked out to the middle of the room and pointed straight up, and that picture is dead center in the middle of the room, and it's been there for all 30 something years.
I love it.
Used to be in the front window for a long time, but that was one of those pictures taken during the time when I was working with the WWF over there.
You totally
That's
look
a
like
heck of a
a
picture.
rock star. Doesn't he look like a musician? Like you
Nightheart,
look like a rock star in
he
that
does. He
picture.
looks like Eddie Money or something, right?
Yes.
That
Van
may,
Halen, maybe.
that may have been why some of the fans over there liked me, because I was different. All the Japanese referees were real kind of conservative, and
Yeah.
they didn't get too involved in that kind of thing, and there I was with all long hair and kind of crazy and going in there shoving and pushing and everything else, and I don't know, maybe they like that. I don't know.
The reason why Nightheart is rubbing his beard, he's like, "Damn it, I'm in Japan, and it's gonna be hard to find cocaine tonight." He's sitting there
Oh
thinking about it.
no!
He's sitting there thinking.
I
Justin, I don't know I don't know about you sometimes. You ain't right, man.
no. That's
Quite a character he was, let me tell you.
Oh yeah, Jimmy
I
Neidhart
bet
was awesome.
I bet all three of them. I can only imagine what.
Yeah, well, Randy was a special guy. He really did a lot for me while I was over there. He put me in a good situation, and I got involved with an angle that we came up with together, and that put me in a position over there to where they started coming to me for more creative things, and a lot of that's attributed to Randy going to the office and telling them, that this is our idea, and we want to do this, and they liked it, and he gave me a lot of credit. So he's always been a special guy to me for that reason, and Tonga. One of my best friends, still to this day. I love that guy. I spent so much time over there with him, probably more than anybody. Just a special person.
With Randy, he is famous for being very detailed in his matches, and I'm going to go over move 67. I'm going to go to 68.
Yeah.
Did he do that with you as the referee much or no?
No, it was kind of funny because the first match I worked with him over there, it was a tag match, and he started to come in as he wasn't legal tag, and he kept coming, and I stopped him physically, and he was like, "Whoa,
Don't do that to the Macho Man."
You blew his mind.
You're in Japan, you can't do that. And after it was over with, he said, "You're right. I forgot. That this is for real over here.
Yeah.
But he was wonderful to be around and to work with, and like I said, he put me in a situation over there because of his willingness to share the I guess the spotlight as far as coming up with a good idea, and that's always meant a lot to me.
He's always been and always will be in my top 3 of professional wrestlers ever, because he was a fantastic worker, but B, you'll never forget the Macho Man voice. You could walk down the street right now and ask someone to do the impersonation, and they'll do it.
Well,
yeah,
everyone knows.
Slim Jim hadn't let go of him yet. He's been gone for years. He's been gone for years, and he's still.
Yeah,
he definitely into wrestling for sure.
Definitely. Well, James, where can everybody find you?
Well, I'm not hard to find. I mean, I don't do a lot of social media type things. It's just one of the, I'll go in there and promote whatever I'm doing, and that's about all I use it for. And once in a while I'll post something personal, like the deal with today with the baseball thing. But for the most part, if you want to find me on Facebook, you can find me there. I've got a Twitter account, but I don't look at it very much. I just never have been much on social media. I think it gets too many people into too much trouble a lot of times.
That's for sure.
Right. And I guess if they really want you, they know how to find you, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
but if somebody reaches out to me on Facebook and sends me a message or something, I always respond. I don't kayfabe anybody or anything or anybody. If I'm not hard to find or get a hold of if you need to.
Well, we had a short amount of time with you tonight, and we appreciate every minute of it. But there's so much more about his career that you can find. So, I encourage everybody to pick up his book, The Third Man, My Life and Times Inside the Ring and Out by James Beard. And he wrote this with Mark James, and Mark James is an incredible author. I've tried to get Mark James to do one of those encyclopedias of Texas wrestling, like he does those. For Memphis and all that. And he told me, well, there's a guy that's going to do them. And I mean, 10 years later, the guy ain't done them yet. So Mark James, if you're watching this, come on and write the Texas Almanac book.
Well, I may suggest that too. I'll talk to Mark. I'm trying to finish up a second book, and I'll try to prod him a little bit to do something like that.
Well, speaking of a second book, I think we definitely, we say this a lot, but I mean this. We need a second episode with Mr. Beard, because I'm going to read this book and then we're going to have a lot more questions.
Heck yeah.
Well,
please come back.
I'm more than happy to be here for you.
Well, we appreciate it, James.
Yeah, and I look forward to seeing you down the road somewhere, Dave.
Hopefully it's sooner.
I'm hoping Josh get his booking book out and give me a call. Maybe I'll have another shot or two with you this next year.
I hope so. Well, thank you for your time. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Absolutely, guys. Enjoyed it.
Thank
you
you
so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, legendary referee, Mr. James Beard. Thank you, James.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
That was awesome.
How about that, everybody?
He's so nice.
We just kicked off season 2. If I must say, we were crapping in high cotton.
I mean, that was one show that we could have just kept going for about 3 hours. That's what I said.
Yeah.
We need a second show because there's a lot of stories in there.
Well, I'm trying not to keep our guests so long that they don't ever want to come back. And
right.
But I mean, but everything that he said would branch off to something else you want to ask him about. He's just
well, just like showing us that picture, like, oh my God, I'd like to ask you about all of those people.
Yes.
You know?
And
he did. He looked like that dude from Van Halen. Like, that's who I think he did. And did you see how his shirt was all good?
Before we jump right into trivia, and we're going to do that. I'm sorry, I don't mean to keep walking on you, Amy.
No, that's fine.
I just want to say thank you to everybody. That our first year has been so great. I mean, I've had the time. We can't believe we've already been doing this for a year. We were talking about it before we came on the air. That it's been great. Moving to a live format on and having an audience. We thank y'all so much. Allison Faye, Terry Weaver, Willie Buck, Coach Keith Morrison, Andrew Hermes, who's been a guest on the show several times, Darren Staley, Matt Presley, Matt Presley was out there 45 minutes before the show started. He was already in the chat. I mean, connecting people through wrestling. I didn't even see. I was so into James, I wasn't paying attention to the chat much tonight. Man, it's just so nice to have the instant feedback from the audience, the support. Y'all supported us on Tuesday nights. Y'all supported us on Wednesday nights. When there was a wrestling product, a major wrestling product on that y'all choose our little show, y'all move around with us on Thursday nights, and we can't thank you enough. I don't want y'all to ever think that we don't know that you have a choice to get your wrestling entertainment, and we thank you for letting us be a part of it.
Yes, and we tried to get a couple of your questions in tonight, but we had so many of our own, it was hard to get in too many other ones because it was like Dave said, one answer led to another question there.
But we'll get James back, especially because I want to hear about the premiere now.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, and I want to read the book, and then
That's
have more
crazy to me
questions.
that they're doing the Texas Theater. Because the last time when I left Dallas 13 years ago, last time I went by that place, it didn't look like they were doing anything there. I mean, it might have been a dollar movie. So, but they started refitting these theaters in Texas and making them concert videos, and I think that's great. And
I'm so glad they're doing it in that. Like, I just think the resurgence that I think is going to happen.
Well, I would have
like
thought they would have done the
said-
Majestic, maybe the Majestic in downtown Dallas.
Mhm.
But I mean, that's so cool about the Texas Theater. My great grandfather, who I mentioned earlier about that I listened to Texas Rangers games, lived very close to the Texas Theater.
That's so neat. It's so historic. So maybe that's why they chose it, or how many people it sees, or if it had been renovated, they want to show it off or whatever. I just I think it's going to be really cool. And just how cool is it, I guess, if you're an actor and you get to work with somebody who was present with the people you are portraying, my cake taste good?
Your cake is excellent. You're enjoying it.
Thank you. I could tell. I think it's going to be. I'm really excited, and I guess his book's on Amazon.
It is on Amazon.
Oh,
it is on Amazon.
And he's writing a second book. I wonder what it's about. Just what he hasn't already talked about, or do you think do you know what his second book's about?
I don't know. No, but it's but he's working with Mark James. It's going to be an incredible book.
Heck yeah.
I mean, you throw Mark James wrestling books into your Google machine, and you won't go wrong with any of them.
No, and of course, like you said, he's all about Memphis, so I really enjoy that. Thank you so much, Willie Buck. We try.
Thank you, Willie. And we can go ahead and kick off trivia because Justin ain't gonna get none of them right anyway.
Oh, that's very true. Wait till you see this first one. Hold on.
There he is.
Oh, yay. All right. So this is our birthday episode. So first question. What year did the combination of melody and lyrics for the Happy Birthday to You song appear in print? Was it 1905,
Dave will remember
1909,
this.
1912, or 1920? He can tell us what they did before.
Dave,
No.
when was it? You was there. When was it? What year was this?
I'm gonna guess it was 1912.
You know what? I'm going with 1912 too. I believe that was the beginning of World War I, so that would make sense. Go ahead.
Let me tell you my rationale about picking it, because it's C, 1912.
Oh, see, this is how you took tests in high school. C.
And C is for cupcake. That's good enough for me.
I thought you was one of those kids that just answered C on all the standardized tests.
Well, I guess it doesn't matter how you got the answer, but you did get the answer correct. It was 1912. And actually, it's kind of interesting that the reason why I put combination with melody and lyrics is that Happy Birthday to You is actually a controversial song.
Of course.
Because it was originally, the tune of it was created by two teachers, a teacher and a music teacher in Louisville, Kentucky. Apparently, this teacher would welcome her class, and it would be like, "Good morning to you." Good morning to you. Good morning to all. So anyway, so she would sing this little song to her kids. And so then someone else took credit for it and it just kind of got all wrapped up to where up until 2015, you could not sing happy birthday in movies or TVs without paying royalties.
Yes,
So uh,
You know
it's
what?
true.
Now that you say that, I never saw the Brady Bunch sing happy birthday to each other.
It
you
was like
might
a
see something
35. I
else.
think it was like a $3,500 pop.
Yeah, I mean, it was something quite interesting to think of something so wonderful, but it was definitely it was marred in some controversy. Okay, number two. What group of people popularized the idea of celebrating a person's birthday with a birthday cake? Was that the
Hmm.
English, the Swedish, the Germans, or the Chinese?
I'm going to go to Swedes because they shouldn't be in there for any other reason. So that's where I'm going with them.
All right,
Um,
Dave.
I'm going English.
You're both incorrect. It was actually the Germans
Yeah.
thinking German chocolate. No, I don't know. But it was the Germans. The Germans are the group that popularized the idea of celebrating with a birthday cake. And one thing I want to ask you all about because I saw this somewhere. It goes back to the first question. When you sing "Happy Birthday," do you in Australia? They say at the very end of it, they say "Hip hip hooray."
Yeah.
So, do you all just sing happy birthday to
I
you, happy
think
birthday
at
to
the
you?
end, I have heard the and many more gimmick at the end.
Yes, and any more, but do you all
And many
ever
more.
does
Other
anybody
than that,
say
no.
okay,
I
I'm
don't
just
think we do the
curious.
hip hip
Ben
hooray.
Jones, how do you sing happy birthday?
Yes.
He's asleep, so he's not singing anything right now.
Oh,
I,
that's
I
good.
think the hip
Tell
hip
us.
hooray, though, it used to be a bigger thing. I think it died out in like the 50s. Hip hip hooray.
And so Australia's still they're still on that end of the world, I guess, so they're still doing it. Ben Jones, we need to know if how big is that in Australia? Um, all right, next question. Since our birthday is October 28th, what is our zodiac sign?
Slippery when wet.
Oh, I
Of the
just don't
four
know about you
choices,
sometimes, Dave. Let's see.
exactly. Of the four choices, are we a Cancer, a Scorpio, a
Oh God,
Libra,
yeah.
or a Pisces?
I feel like Pisces. I
Please
feel
let
like
us be a Cancer. Please.
I feel like that's spring. I'm sure I'm wrong, and everyone's making fun of me right now. I'm gonna go too cold Scorpio, baby.
Pondwater, we are not Cancer.
Oh,
Exactly. Alice and Faye and I are Cancers because we're born in July. Our show is a Scorpio.
There we
okay. Well,
go.
good.
Hey,
Because
I
if we
got
were a
one right.
Cancer, if we were a
That was
Cancer, our new theme song next week was going to be radioactive, radioactive.
No. All right. This next question is really fun. Okay. So these four people share a birthday with one of the members of the Talkin' Wrestling with Pondwater Dave show.
It's me, and it's Hans Christian Andersen.
Guess which member it is. Bonus points if you pick the famous person that was also born the same year. Dave already ruined it for the first one.
I'm gonna say that myself and the great Marvin Gaye were born on the same day. Let's get it on, Amy.
Oh my goodness gracious. Com- completely
That
what
probably
is it?
wasn't
Not
even Marvin
not
Gaye.
completely straight?
Was that Al Green? I don't even know who that was. Go ahead.
No,
No.
it was Marvin Gaye.
Okay.
All right.
Let's get it on.
It actually is Pondwater Dave, April 2nd. Dave, do you know which one of these people that was born the same year? And it was not Hans Christian Andersen, who was
Oh, it was
born in
Romanowski.
18. You are right. It's Bill Romanowski.
The other German name.
Yeah. But hey, I don't know if you all are familiar with Hardboiled Haggerty. He was a wrestler and he was a huge wrestler. I mean, literally and figuratively in the NWA as tag team champions. So if you ever wanted to look up anything, I'm not. I don't know why he was called Hardboiled. I guess he was. I guess that's just an interesting name.
Well, he had
Him.
this gimmick. He had this gimmick where he ate hard-boiled eggs.
Yeah. Don't boil it longer than
know.
5 minutes, or else
Don't
that thing's
know.
ruined. Is all I know.
And then he would break wind in the rain.
Oh,
No.
not
Next.
the egg farts. No.
Yes.
Next question. All right. Okay. Same thing. So we have Millard Fillmore, who was a president.
President Millard Fillmore, yes.
Kenny
Kenny
Loggins,
Loggins, the great artiste,
Darby Allen,
and
Lewis
Hamilton.
Hamilton. Who of the Pondwater Dave show shares a birthday with these 4 people?
Is Lewis Hamilton the race car driver?
He is.
Okay, the Formula One driver, Lewis
I
Hamilton.
think Justin and Darby have the same birthday.
Hey, I hope so. I hope we'd have the same bed sometimes too, but that's a whole different story. What is it, Amy?
It is Justin.
Yes. Is it
It
Darby
is.
Allen?
Darby Allen is younger than you.
Damn. I know he's younger, but I just
Is
thought
it the
we had
same day?
birthday. Oh, it's the same date.
It's the same day, but one of these
Oh.
people on this list is actually born the same date and the same year.
I
as
don't think
you.
it's Millard Fillmore.
It's Lewis Hamilton.
It's Lewis Hamilton.
It is Lewis Hamilton. He shares the birth date and the year with you. That was funny.
That's pretty cool. I like Lewis
Yeah.
Hamilton.
Yeah.
He came over and drove a NASCAR race last year, I think.
Oh, cool.
Is that the guy from Australia?
No, that guy won a race. Lewis
kicked their ass.
Hamilton, I think he might have done like a Busch Series race or something. I could be wrong.
It was a
I thought
road
he did.
course. It
He
was
is
a
a
road
ro-
course, and he waxed their ass like.
Oh yeah, that
rainbows.
guy from Australia. I can't say his last name. It's like Van Geert and something, but yeah, he come in and won in his first race ever in America and beat all the NASCAR guys, which is pretty crazy.
Like
Where is Ben Jones when we need him? Wake
I
up.
know. We need
got
an
two
Australian expert.
We have 2 Australian questions now.
Oh.
All right.
Efren!
Blah blah blah.
It ain't a birthday party till Efren shows up.
Amy Millard Vaughn. I like that, Efren. I see what you're up to over there.
All right, next question. All right, so now we've got Tina Fey, Reggie Jackson, Nicholas II, the last czar of Russia, and Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
I'm going
They
to
all
say
share.
Amy and the fantastic Tina Fey
Yes.
share a birthday.
Wrong.
Oh,
It
don't tell me
is-
it's Reggie Jackson, that
Y'all,
asshole.
you and Tina Fey were born in the same year.
No.
I'm going to be mad if it's Reggie
not
Jackson.
my birthday. It's Stephanie's.
Oh. Tina Fey and Stephanie?
It is Tina
There
Fey
we
and
go.
Stephanie. We're born the same year and the same day.
Well, look
I
at
didn't
that.
do mine because
Two
I always
beautiful women born at the same time.
exactly. But I always rag you
Both
all
of them are
about
29.
knowing.
Both
That's
of them
right.
are 29.
Exactly. No, I did not do my birthday, so
Oh,
because I
well,
always
I wonder
get on to
why.
you all. Exactly. So I knew that would be too easy. Too
Uh-huh.
easy.
Yeah, Harry Truman and Amy Vaughn share a birthday, but she don't want to tell us that.
Oh, me and Shawn Michaels do.
Oh,
Yeah,
well, you just
And-
lost points with me.
exactly. Thunder Rosa. Oh, no concept. All right, next question. Which one of these people do not share a birthday with Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave, October 28th, okay?
I'm sorry, I just read Efren's comment. He said it's been a year and it still looks like Justin's mic guard looks like a Catholic confessional, which I think is hilarious. All right.
Well, my desk looks like the altar. These candles.
Well, we
That's
don't want to
right.
scare Efren here. Go ahead.
One of these people do not share a birthday with us. Is it Julia Roberts, Bill Gates, Christy Hemme, or John Gotti?
Yeah. Why are you tripping up on Christy Hemme?
I just said one of these people do.
Oh.
Well, because I wanted to make sure I said that right.
Well, I'm going to hope it's, you know what? The most asshole, this is sad. The most asshole person in this group that I don't like is Bill Gates, and John Gotti is in the list. So I'm hoping it's not Bill Gates.
John Gotti never gave my John Gotti never gave my computer a virus.
That's right. Yeah, free John Gotti, screw Bill Gates. I'm going to say, let's hope it's Bill Gates. I don't want to share a birthday with him.
You share a birthday with Bill Gates.
Oh, no.
It's actually John Gotti. His birthday's the day before.
Mm.
So
I just
Julia
watched a
Roberts.
documentary on John Gotti, actually, that just came out on Netflix last
So
week.
yesterday, born on this day, still dead, John Gotti.
John Gotti.
That's right. That's right. John. I just something Efren just said. Oh Lordy. Next question.
I don't know if I want to look.
I love
What-
Efren so much.
What episode did the Josh Odom benefit auction winner Frank Bruno join us on the show?
Oh, that's hard.
Was it episode 33,
That's
35,
what Efren said.
37, or 39? Oh, we got to hurry up. This is going. We like peaked with James Beard, and now we're just crashing.
I
I'm
just
gonna
messaged,
guess it was 35.
I just messaged Frank Bruno wishing his Titans good luck tonight against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I should know this. Dave, you said 35.
Yep.
I'm going to go 33.
You
I think
are
Terry
correct.
Weaver. Oh, you got it? I would have gone with Terry Weaver because he's been paying attention.
No, that's true. It was actually number 33.
Terry don't know more about this show than me, Dave. I don't care how much he watches. 33, Terry. Put it in reverse.
All right, next question. What episode did the other Josh Odom benefit auction winner Mike Bober join us on the show? Was it 41, 42, 43, or 44?
I was looking for the worst to be a choice, but I don't see that. So I'm gonna go.
I'm gonna go 44.
I'm gonna go in honor of the great Jackie Robinson. I'm gonna say 42.
I'm going 44 because Bober kind of makes me think about boobies, and I like them 44s.
Lord. It is 44. Again, I guess however you get to it. Doesn't matter.
Our logic isn't sound, but we still get to the. It's
That's
like
right.
it's like when I am teaching kids and they get the right answer.
I
in
showed
math,
my
but
work,
They
Justin.
don't show.
I
their
showed my work.
He showed his work, yes. Okay, next question. What episode was titled "What is so super about Super Dave?" where we learned about he had been shot in the head and lived to tell about it?
This should have been episode 1.
Is it multiples? Because there's more than one question,
Yeah.
more than one answer to this.
We've learned about this story through multiple episodes, but
There
I'm
was
going.
only one episode entitled.
Yes.
That's the title. What is so
Yeah.
super about Super Dave?
I'm going to go. I feel like it was early, so I'm going to go 16. I'm going with my girl Allison. I know my hair ain't fantastic tonight, Allison, and I'm sorry, but I'm going 16.
I'm
Dave,
gonna go. Sweet 16.
it was 18.
Oh,
So
so
close.
close.
So close. So close.
But legal.
That's what I get for listening to Allison.
That's all right. Next question. What episode did we take a trip down memory lane and discuss the good old days when we talked about our favorite toys, cartoons, TV shows, and
Oh.
wrestlers growing up?
I want to do another one of those episodes. That was fun.
That was fun. Was
Yeah,
it episode?
we'll have to watch it first so we don't repeat ourselves.
Episode.
I'll be like,
24,
I loved
26.
Garfield. You said that last episode, Slapdick. Oh, well, I still love Garfield.
I still love Garfield. Yeah, we're still talking about
My
that.
memory's so bad. We did the same episode twice. And Efren goes, you already did that episode, right?
Yeah,
That's true. That did happen.
Yeah, that
It
was
was better. we had it down the bat the second time. I'm going to guess 24.
I'm going in honor of my boy Ken Griffey Jr. 24.
It was number 28.
I don't know
All
any
right.
28s other than Davey Allison, great NASCAR legend.
Last question. Who was the very first guest on the Talking Wrestling with Pondwater Dave
Oh my
show?
God.
Was it the wonderful Efren? Was it TJ Stevens? Was it Ike Miller, Dave's brother? Or was it the one and only Andrew Hermes?
I'm torn between C and D, and I'm going to go C. Big
I'm gonna,
Ike.
I'm gonna say it was Ike because Andrew was a guest host. He wasn't really a
Yeah.
guest.
Mhm. You're both wrong.
We're good at that.
It was TJ. TJ came on to talk to us about
Oh,
PW Mania
about yeah.
at episode
All
5.
right. All right. I give my crown to Terry. He says he knew that answer. I didn't. So there you go. I don't know why he hyphenated Stephens, but okay. Stephen's. TJ Stephens.
Stephen, you listen to their show, that's how they pronounce it.
Oh,
They always
okay.
say it whenever he'll say TJ Stevens and Tim will say Stephen.
Well, Terry, I listened to like the first 2 episodes. I don't think I've heard any since. So that's my defense on that.
TJ Stevens also on the FFP,
Mhm.
Yes.
and they're kind of a broadcast partner with us because we're partners with our StreamYard format.
Mhm.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, I started to broadcast our show on their channels tonight too. On their personals.
I was sure
I
Premiere
was
might be like,
I was
"What?
tempted to do it.
We just hit a button. We're sorry." But that's all. So I wanted to have
All right.
I
That was
think we
some
had a
fun
great
birthday
little
trivia.
birthday trivia. Thank
Yes.
y'all for playing along. I
No
appreciate it.
problem.
Uh-huh.
We enjoyed it.
I
Amy's
know.
trivia is always fun.
I just
try.
wish there would have been a question about a birthday suit, but that's all right. Well,
I chose not to.
that was a fun. This has been a fantastic show. I can't get over how great Mr. Beard was to have on. I mean, just what a plethora of knowledge and in the room and so many historical
know.
times and historical people. And
And he
that
like
may have
has
been my favorite guest we've ever had.
yes, and he's just like a little grandpa, and I feel like you could just, sit at his feet, listen to his stories, and like you said, he's got stories about Japan. And again, just throw up a picture of you just hanging out with Randy Savage and Haku and
Yeah.
well here
What a
just a little,
crew.
yeah, and just imagine, like you said, everything he's seen, everything he's heard. Like you just can't even. And he's a member of the Cauliflower Alley. He does the Thro- what is it? Thragos? I can't say it.
So
I know it's
Tragos,
Luthez.
Thez,
Tragus. Yeah.
Tragos, Thez,
Tragos, sorry.
and then he's a
And
member of the then he's a member of the Southern Wrestling Hall of Fame, the same
I
one that I'm
know,
in.
same as you are.
Well, yeah, I mean, and the fact that
So I mean, think about it, y'all. I'm in the same Hall of Fame with James Beard.
yeah, that's pretty awesome. I mean, just listening to him and how matter of fact, and it's just he's so nice in the way he describes his stories, but you can also tell that he has a great memory and a great like he knew little details. Like once he put himself in that room, he gave us like I remember this was going on and that. I mean,
Yeah,
pretty crazy.
I think it would have been fascinating to watch him instruct the actors of Iron Claw
Yeah,
of how those, I mean, some behind the scenes hopefully is part of the movie because like the I think that would have been fascinating just to see him interacting again, knowing that he was there when this actually happened and that he was around them and he saw things. And I just think that would have been that could be a little amazing little behind the scenes. They could sell that to me. I would
well,
love to be able to watch it.
we'll definitely have to have James back again.
yeah. There's too many stories that were left untold for us to
Right,
not do
especially
that
next
again.
month. Like you said, when does the movie come out? The
December
23rd,
22nd,
December 22nd. But he said they're doing their premiere next week, right?
next Wednesday.
Wednesday. So definitely maybe in December we can get him to come tell us some little tidbits. I was going to ask him if he had seen it yet, the whole movie, but he'll get to see it next Wednesday.
Yeah,
Willie Buck says it's my friend's birthday, and that will be Van Golston. So happy birthday, Van!
Happy
Thanks for
birthday.
watching, Willie.
Hey,
I do want to say that over the last few weeks has been some of the best guests we've ever had. Tim Storm last week, James this week. I hope you guys have enjoyed it because Pondwater is really working his butt off over there trying to get us some great guests, and he's done a fantastic job. So
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes. And
fantastic.
do we have the posting of who's all coming up in November? I know you have it on Facebook and stuff, but I didn't know this. Sorry to put you on the spot, Stephanie. Do you have that?
And
Yeah, get it together, Tappy. Come on.
while we're appreciating everybody, I appreciate my co-host Justin and Amy but ever since Stephanie took over as producing the show, we've really it's brought us up another level. I mean, she wrapped her arms around it. I mean, our graphics, I mean, I think her graphics are amazing that she does for us.
Mhm.
Yep.
Dave's not echoing like he was earlier.
He's not gonking things in
Not
the background.
I think
She
she's
puts the-
feverish.
Heard a honk.
I think she's trying to get that picture up for us to show us who our guests are. But next week from New South Wrestling, we're going to have Dump Sanders.
Mhm. And I
Um,
will be asking him, and I hope it's not what I think it is. How did you get that name? Because I I don't know if I can call him Dump. I'm gonna have to call him Mr. Sanders.
And then the next week we have Cowpoke Paul, right? Or
No.
Hey, you never know.
Next week after that, we have independent wrestler Wes Warren.
I got to see him wrestle when I went to BIW.
He's an
Oh,
up and
There it
coming.
is. She found it.
She found the old one.
That's all right. If you guys are watching on the video, you can obviously see. You guys listening, Teppy put it up there. We
Yeah,
have
act like that New South. Act like that other. That's the New South out of Alabama and not Lexington, Kentucky.
We got Wes Warren.
Wes Warren will be here. He's a hell of a hand. He's I've known him since he broke in. But he's done some traveling, spent some time at Booker's in Houston, Booker T's school. I mean, he's really, really good. He's got a bright future ahead of him.
Some guy named the Mashed Potato King.
Mashed Potato Raider.
Yeah, there we go.
We're gonna pivot back to comedy. So we're gonna on Tuesday, November 21st, we're gonna laugh until we pee a little with
I peed a little.
with Cassio Kidd, who is he's a host of the hottest the number one morning radio program in Alabama, and he also is co-host with Road Dogg for Oh You Didn't Know. So, and he's a friend of mine, and I'm really looking forward to hanging out with Cassio because every time I hang out with Cassio, I laugh and my face hurts because I laugh so much. And I think we think y'all will too.
That's gonna
And
be
then
a lot of fun.
we're gonna close out the month Tuesday, November 28th, with Sean Ambrose from Primetime Wrestling. Primetime Wrestling, they are out of Rome, Georgia.
Mm-hmm. I think we know someone else that's from Rome, Georgia.
Who?
Yeah, who
Justin,
is that?
who?
Who?
Person whose little wrestling bendy is coming out tomorrow, and I plan on being one of those buyers. He's oh gosh, I probably need to figure out it's him and who else is coming out. Do y'all know what I'm talking about?
By him, do you want to explain to the listeners who you're talking about?
They know it's Arn Anderson.
Oh,
well, so I have a question.
Gosh.
Since you're the first lady of the Arn Anderson fan club.
Yes.
Do you eat cheese on your burgers?
I can't answer that.
Oh, so you're scared of getting kicked out.
Yes, she does eat cheese
You're
on her
scared
burgers.
of getting kicked out. I see how it is.
We just heard her say in a loud, clear voice that Arn Anderson has sucked taste in hamburgers.
Yeah. She
because
said
he doesn't put cheese on them.
Amy said, "Double cheese, mother boom."
Yeah, that's what it sounded like.
I would.
Hey, what do y'all think about Ric Flair being signed with AEW? That was described as a multi-year contract.
It's a 2-year contract, I believe.
Well, 2 is multiple years.
It
Justin.
is. That is true. I don't love it myself. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I mean, it sounds like to me that he's advertising. I mean, He's advertising his energy drink.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna
Yes,
say. That's
that's
gonna
the
be the
official
official
energy drink of
drink.
AEW now. I saw.
Right. I
So
mean, so Logan Paul gets to push Prime on WWE, and Rick gets to push.
yeah,
Woo!
it's a great deal for Rick. I just don't know if it's, is Rick going to come in here and revitalize AEW? No.
No, he's going to come out, and everybody's going to be glad to see him, and he's going to cut
Yeah.
a promo every now and then.
Kind of like what they do with Shivani.
I mean,
but yeah.
What
No,
I
he'll.
don't what I don't like,
God forbid that he give any of those kids any kind of advice on how to get over.
Yeah, that's
if they
true.
listen. What I don't like is because I also saw something, whether it's true or not, I don't know. Talking about how he's also Tony Khan's also in talks with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
This is feeling very TNA-ish to me, and
Yes.
I don't like it at all.
I don't either.
But what
Again,
would be? But I'm gonna play devil's advocate. What would be so bad about Sting's retiring so Hogan gets to come tell him bye?
that's fine to tell him bye.
Okay,
But
let's
they
say
have
that
they have some great young talent.
now Tony
You know.
Khan, his announcement last night should have been, "We signed Ric Flair to a multi-year contract." That would have been an announcement.
Right.
If Tony Khan saying he has an announcement is like the sun came up today. No one cares.
Okay.
But what I'm saying, Amy, is you might say, well, we don't need Hulk Hogan. Well, if Hulk Hogan is being announced that he's going to be on AEW or rumored that he's going to be on AEW, it's going to pop a rating. It's
Yeah,
going to pop
but
a
it's got to
rating
be
by
a short. It's short term. It's
the
Go ahead.
Hulkamaniacs. The Hulkamaniacs are going to tune in to see him. The fake outrage people that Hulk Hogan's there are going to tune in to see him. The
But-
ones that
I
are
am
saying,
totally
I
fine.
ain't never watching it again because Ric Flair got signed. You're full of shit. You will with your fake outrage.
Okay, here's my devil's advocate, Dave. Is that not hot shot booking? To pop a rating for one night on AEW Wednesday. And what are you going to do with Hogan?
You're going to come out and he's going to say, well, let me tell you
Yeah,
something, brother.
yeah.
I discovered Sting and I discovered the Warrior and I called them the Blade Warriors.
I don't. I just. I
But
don't
I mean,
think
he's
there's
just
a
going to come
long
out and he's going to
term
stroke.
thing there. I get it. That doesn't mean everything, but I think if I was him and I'm trying to build AEW's legacy, you build that through building stars. You don't build that through bringing Vince's old guys in and say hi on TV.
But I like if all of this is going to be like a coronation for Sting as he's retiring, fine. I mean,
Yes.
I think that would be wonderful. I just, like I don't see these younger talents getting the I don't know. I just don't want it I
All the
want
people that we
AEW
talk
to
about on
succeed.
AEW, all the people, Amy, that we talk about, that I read on Twitter, the fans saying this guy deserves more TV time. Well, you're
Yes.
taking those TV times away from those people and giving it to 70-year-old
Yes. But
Hulk
again,
Hogan
if
or
they
whatever.
are going to do something that surrounds Sting, I'm here to see it. I want AEW to succeed. I just don't want some of the good, some of the better talent, younger talent that they have, not get those shots. Again, that's the reason why we like the independents as much, because you're getting to see a variety of different talents out there, and we just all want them to be successful. I just don't want
To
it to
me,
turn out to be.
yeah. And
And
to
I think
me, when you start bringing in the older guys like that, it shows a bit of desperation. And I think it reminds me of WCW 2000, bringing in like Terry Funk and people like that. That no, you should be building your young stars, not doing this. So
right.
I guess that's where I'm on the bad side.
Yeah, but if
of
you
it.
don't pop a rating, then you're not going to have a platform.
Well, that's what I mean with desperation. You're in a
you got to
desperate
keep
spot.
the platform so you can put. I mean, some of these. I mean, they're going with a lot of WWE talent.
Yeah.
Right.
Christian Cage is the best till they got.
No, I agree.
Big Show came out to wrestle the other night, right?
Big Show came out and grabbed him by the throat and punched him.
Well, and I think that also, again, I'm not there, but you know that Tony Khan is the one booking the show. He doesn't really have other people maybe he soundboards off, and so we're seeing a lot of fandom. And I think what Justin's saying is very legit. You're seeing all this, like, oh, this is popping a rating, but how does that really get us? Like,
Jeff
Farther.
where's
Jarrett,
the
Jeff
arc?
Jarrett's had more matches. He's had more matches than anybody else on the roster this year on television.
And I don't really know how, and that's fine. But like, what is his arc?
I think
Where is
here's
the storytelling? Where
here's
is
our point.
the
If you look at 1997 WWE, 98, why did it take off? It wasn't because they brought in Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. It was
No, it's
because
why they're in-
they were building Triple H and Steve Austin and Mick Foley and these guys. That's what got them hot, not bringing in old retreads from the past. I guess that's my point.
But it makes sense for Sting's farewell tour
yes, definitely,
that you're
definitely.
bringing.
Yeah, I get it.
You're bringing back a little nostalgia for that segment. I mean, it's okay. What's
Yes.
bad is where the kids ought to get upset. Where the kids ought to get upset is Edge is taking their time. Christian, Bryan Danielson, who can't have a match without getting hurt. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah.
I just having Flair on. I mean, if he just goes to the ring with somebody as a
Yeah.
manager, Flair
And
is not going to be wrestling.
No, well, not yet. But
Dang.
I will say I get what you're saying. I'm just saying they have a lot of young guys, the Darby Allens and those people. And yeah, I get it. Give them a rub, but at some point they have to build their own story and their own legacy without getting a rub from a Hulk Hogan or The Rock or anyone like that.
Well, Hogan ain't rubbing nobody but Sting
Yeah,
if he comes in.
right.
And I think that would be I think that would be awesome. And like you said, we maybe just need to wait. I just worry that we see, just like Justin says, we see a lot of big announcements. We see some things, and it's maybe not. It just pops a rating. But again, where does it go from there?
But y'all got to keep in mind that AEW is ratings driven. Television is their revenue.
Yeah.
When you see all these people posting pictures of these half-empty arenas, big deal, because the arena is a necessary evil to film a television show, because they are a television revenue-driven product. So if they only get so many people that they can pack them all around for a hard cam shot, that's fine. Is it if they were just doing if they weren't getting attendance for house shows, that's alarming.
Right.
But they're going to film that TV show, right? And if they put it in a soundstage, then they're just like Impact, TNA.
Yeah.
Right.
Or MLW in a nightclub. Or
well,
so
but you know what though, and you've heard. I mean, I listen to Eric Bischoff. I listen to Strictly Business, and if you all are not listening to that, you really should, because he gives some really great insight about things behind the scenes. But one of the things that he has been consistently talked about is, yes, you have a base, but you need to grow your base. And AEW does not seem to be growing the base.
Right.
You're right. You're going to have 500,000 people, whatever, hardcore, that's going to watch every pay-per-view, going to buy every shirt, do that stuff. But you need that number to move up. And I don't think that they captivate, like, yeah, they're going to pop a rating. People are going to go watch Hogan, but are they going to stay? Because anything catches them to want to see what happens. And I'm afraid that doesn't happen.
But AEW has been what's going to happen next since they started.
Yeah, but it's just like Amy's saying, it was such a huge pop, and everyone said, "Oh, CM Punk's return is going to set AEW off on a firestorm of ratings." Never happened. They popped one rating that night. I guess that's me and Amy's point. And we will talk about this more next week, because there's we went long tonight and we got to get off here, and we thank you guys for staying. But I've read some reports that there may be a breakup in the TV contract between AEW and Time Warner coming up. So we'll continue that conversation next week.
But make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Please.
Right?
Yes.
Please.
Please.
Because you like the content. And I think, Dave, I think any of the videos that Mr. Beard sends us that of him needs to go strictly to the YouTube channel.
Yep.
And for all our wonderful subscribers, for you all who have subscribed
For
to us,
subscribers only.
that's right, for subscribers only. And then if you help us get to 300, Vladimir Koloff is going to cannonball Dave. So he's going to get chopped by Angel.
November
And
11th.
if you remember
Yep.
the 450-pound behemoth that
On Veterans Day, you're getting chopped. Oh my Lord.
and Angel already made you corkscrew in the air when he hit you. I saw that video. So I can't
Well,
imagine what that pot or that chop's going to feel like.
yes. So please join us next week. We're going to continue this conversation. I like this conversation. There's a lot of stuff going on AEW as far as TV contracts, ratings, like we just talked about, all kinds of stuff. So we'll have some more to talk about that. I like when we mix in a little current wrestling here at the end. Anything you guys want to say before we go? What a birthday show.
That's right. Wonderful
Just
birthday.
thank you so much. If you've watched us, if you've been a guest on our show, we can't thank you enough. We're plugging right along. We're gaining some momentum. We're growing this thing.
Yeah, in the last few weeks we've got more YouTube subscribers really than we ever have in a time period like that. So thank you guys. We're, as they say on the YouTube gimmick, like, subscribe, and hit the bell.
And and go to jumpinthepond.com. Jumpinthepond.com to get your talking wrestling swag. We have
That's right.
the logo shirt. We have the hashtag not completely straight. We have pucker up asshole.
That's right.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories of the last year.
And then Amy said, "Well, pucker up asshole." It was 100% my favorite movie.
I will give you 20 minutes to get you an audience. Kiss my ass
Pucker
right
up,
here.
asshole.
Well,
And she did not public, and she apologized to me, but she didn't do it on the air. She dug her heels in.
That's right. I was no backing down on that one.
We want to thank all of you guys for puckering up to this show and listening and getting in the chat. All of you guys, thank you so much. We really enjoyed this. We've said enough. We've said too much, and it's time to shut up. So for Pondwater Dave, for the great Miss Amy Vaughn, my name is Justin Davis saying, take care of yourself and each other. So long, everyone.